Happy Friday. It's Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop. A little late start this morning, but we've got so much to get to. I just had to get all my ducks in a row before we launched live, as we do each and every weekday morning here with the Center Square and Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop, editor at the Center Square, Illinois. Be sure to go get the headlines in your inbox each and every weekday morning with the newsletter. If you don't do that, you're going to be missing out. So some good, important stories going out each and every day, and then we talk about just some of them here with Illinois in Focus. So thanks for taking time with us here. And of course, the obligatory like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all that jazz. All right, so a couple of segments today. Of course, yesterday was Republican Day at the Illinois State Fair, and Republicans had their chance to respond to what Illinois Democrats said the day before, and we'll also delve into the latest in the map debates between Texas and California and Illinois, and are Republicans going to get more seats in Congress because of redrawn maps, and are Democrats going to try to counter that? Obviously, it's the topic of the summer as we are now rapidly approaching the 2026 election. So we'll get a lot of hot, deep-fried political talk. Not just what happened on stage, but I buzzed around a lot of the area of the fairgrounds to talk with various Republicans, including some gubernatorial candidates. One's already announced. Another one is thinking about it and says they'll make an announcement soon. So I'll share with you a few comments from those gubernatorial candidates coming up as well for the Republican Party. So again, get to the website, thecentersquare.com, where you can get the newsletter and read the headlines, not just about what's in Illinois, but also across the country and in Washington, D.C. So we'll do the deep-fried political talk from the State Fair coming up, but next we're going to connect with Todd Vandermeide. You know him from Freedom's Steel, the YouTube channel, but he was also a contract lobbyist for the NRA. He knows all things firearms laws and such, and he's going to join us to talk about the latest filing from the state in the case challenging Illinois' gun ban that a district judge found unconstitutional, and the state had to appeal it to the appeals court. So we'll talk about that next with Todd Vandermeide here on the Center Square's Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop, each and every weekday morning with you here with the Center Square. State of Illinois filing their final brief before the 7th Circuit Court of Appeals in the ban challenge of Illinois firearm laws. You got to Protect Illinois Communities Act that's been challenged, and a district court said it's unconstitutional. Now the state's having to defend that in court, trying to get the courts in the appeals court to reverse the district court's ruling. Welcome in. It's Illinois in Focus Daily. We've been tracking this story really since before it even came into law back in January of 2023, and all of the litigation that followed thereafter in the state courts and then in the federal courts. Well, right now, the latest status is you've got the 7th Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals in the case Barnett et al. V. Raoul and Pritzker in the state of Illinois over the Protect Illinois Communities Act, banning more than 170 different firearms and semi-automatic rifles and handguns, and banning magazines, and even creating a registry of sorts. So let's get to the latest filing here, and to join me to talk about that is Todd Vandermeide. He is the Aurora Sportsman's Club president. He is also a longtime advocate of the Second Amendment, and he joins us now here on the line. Todd, thanks for taking time. Obviously, we're pulling this document up, so you got a chance to take a look at it. What are some of your initial thoughts?
It's pathetic. If this is what they needed extra time for, I'm amazed as to how thin it is. All they did was they recycled every worn-out argument they've ever made in the past. That they try to play to Judge Easterbrook with, a comment that, this is huge technology leaps, therefore they can be banned. Say, kind of citing him from Friedman, where, they said that at the founding there were only single-shot muskets. There weren't semi-automatic rifles, which isn't true. But, they just harp on all the same stuff we've seen for the last 2 years. They just spit it out all over again in a different format.
Yeah, and I think at one point they even point to a statistic about the percentage of citizens who own firearms that are banned in the state of Illinois, and it said something about like 0.68% of the Illinois population. Are they? Are they basing that off of the registration? Because that's another component of all of this as well that the district court said was unconstitutional.
It looks to be that they're inferring that the only people that own these are people who registered them, not taking into account that people own them and may have moved them out of the state, or just flipped the middle finger to Pritzker and company and said, we don't care what your law is, we're going to hang on to our guns. And we're not registering them, we're not telling you anything more about that or whatever. So obviously you were up at our club recently. You can you saw for your own eyes what kind of stuff transpires out here. I don't think we're 0.6% of the population in the gun owning world.
Todd Vandermeide joins us. He is president of Aurora Sportsman's Club. Also, you can find him on the YouTube channel, Freedom's Steel. Just some of the arguments, again, back to what the state's trying to say is that these are dangerous and unusual. Saying they're unusual because only 6.6% of the population in Illinois actually registered a banned firearm with the state. Obviously, as you stated, a lot of recognition that just is not a real number. The compliance rate for that registration requirement, not near what I guess they were anticipating, but you've got the issue of dangerousness, and they say that semi-automatic firearms like an AR-15 has over-penetration concerns. Is that a legit argument here?
No, because what they don't take into account is an AR-15 fires a 5.56 millimeter, or the civilian equivalent is the 223. Yet they say nothing about dozens of models of bolt-action rifles, or even the Mini 14, and its, standard configuration, fires the exact same cartridge. Plus, you have all the big game cartridges going 30-06 on up that carry way more power than a 5.56. They keep trying to conflate this kind of stuff, and it's ridiculous. And if this is the best that they have for their arguments, the other things are that they're trying to play, saying that this panel cannot overrule Beavis, and they're already hinting at an en banc ruling. I think they are hoping at best, that they might win, but I think they maybe resolve to themselves that there could be a split decision or a decision in our favor, because right now everybody is under the assumption that the panel that handled the Beavis motions is going to be our panel, and that was Easterbrook, Diane Wood, and Brennan. And Brennan wrote the dissent, siding with our take on the issue. Wood wrote the opinion. I believe it was ghostwritten by Easterbrook. But Diane Wood has since retired, and so they have substituted for at least up till this point, Judge St. Eve, who is a Trump appointee. Now, she was on the Viramontes case, which went against us 3-0, but it was a thin record in the Viramontes case. There was no trial. Everything that was in the record on the Viramontes case was simply submitted in paper form and, explained away. It's like, competing textbooks.
Well, and touch a little bit more on that, because, that's what distinguishes the Barnett case, that, it's not just Barnett. You got Federal Firearms Licensees of Illinois involved. You've got 4 different plaintiffs groups here. the other cases that they point to, indeed, yeah, it was just briefs and just decisions on the briefs. It wasn't, deep, testimony on the stand from expert witnesses like we have in the Barnett case, right?
Correct. And that's what makes our case so unique. There's 7,000 pages of a record with experts filing their depositions and their thing, those experts being put on the stand and asked questions in front of the judge even asking questions, then those experts being cross-examined by the other side. That all went on. You were down there for 4 days of a bench trial that we were involved in. Yeah, ours is a little different. There's a growing feeling out there in the 2A legal world that this case is the one the Supremes may want because final judgment, record, they've gone back and forth the whole 9 yards. So we've got that going for us here. The real wild card now is which side is St. Eve going to break on. I mean, if you read the brief, they are weighing, the state is weighing very heavily that this panel cannot overturn a previous panel. But the previous panel was based on an injunction. And they left open the door that, well, you can present evidence and possibly convince us to change our mind. So I think the state is very, very nervous about some things here, about what their possibilities are with a Trump appointee now being on the panel. And it'll be interesting. This will be the first really good test on 2A issues for Judge St. Eve to see where she's going to come down. So the question is there going to be some kind of nuanced, procedural thing that, we can't overturn this, however we would otherwise, or the state's already hinting at going en banc, and that if they lose, it would go, that they would certainly petition the full court for an en banc rehearing of this. I think that no matter what, somebody just needs to get up there in front of the court next month and say, we understand this isn't the last stop for this train, so whatever you do, rule fast, and let's get on with this.
And I think that's something I didn't even think about was them asking for the en banc. And just for quick background for listeners, not necessarily as tuned into the judiciary as say you have been, Todd, and I've been just covering these things, but this is a 3-judge panel of the 7th Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals. That's how they do their cases. So if it doesn't go the way of a certain litigant, they can then request the entire panel, an en banc panel. So way more than 3 judges. What is it, like 7 judges or something like that would hear
13.
something? 13. All right. So you've got 13 different judges that are going to hear it again. If that was the request and it was granted, how much longer do you think that would slow these things down to get this into the hands of the U.S. Supreme Court?
I don't think we're going to ask for an en banc review if we lose, because we want to get to the Supreme Court. I think if we prevail or it's a split decision, I think they are going to want to at least go en banc and see if they can't eke something else out. I think that if we prevail, I don't think the state wants to go to the Supreme Court. I think their chances at the Supreme Court are very slim, and I think that they would remember when we won the concealed carry case in Shepard and Moore v. Madigan. Lisa Madigan did not appeal that to the United States Supreme Court, and the prevailing thought was that you're the last state with to pass concealed carry. You guys, if you go to the court and think about Shepard being Bruin 13 years prior, that we lose the whole country. So I think that if we prevail at the appellate court, I don't think the state wants to go to the Supreme Court, because then if the Supreme Court rules in our favor, they lose the whole country. I think so. There's a mixed bag. There's 4 or 5 different scenarios that can play out here, and we'll see which one it's going to be. But an en banc panel would be all the justices of the 7th Circuit Court of Appeals rehearing it, and it's a crapshoot.
Todd, finally here, just one last response from you about the issue of really what this comes down to, right? I mean, it's essentially the government trying to dictate to the citizenry as to what firearms the government finds to be appropriate for that individual to then be able to protect themselves, their family, and their property. They say that the regulated items are not suitable for self-defense. Where are they wrong?
Well, they're flat out wrong because, those types of firearms are perfectly suitable for self-defense. You've had a number of cases around the country where individuals have used ARs to stop active shooters and, defend themselves, things like that. However, that's the misnomer. That is the lie that the state and the anti-gunners continue to tell. They keep trying to conflate that it's self-defense. Heller said that it protects all lawful uses such as self-defense within the home. They keep trying to write out those two words such as in the first holding of Heller. It is that, if you want to collect AR-15s from every manufacturer because it's like collecting doorknobs, so be it. That is a perfectly lawful use. If you want to use it for competition shooting, fine. You want to use it just to have a real life, Call of Duty run out at the range, fine. Whatever the lawful purpose is good enough. They have consistently, ever since McDonald has come out, tried to undermine Heller and say it has to be self-defense. And that's nowhere near. That is the highest threshold of what is protected activity, but it's not the only protected activity. And this is the lie and the BS that the state, the other anti-gunners continuously try to push out there.
Todd Vandermeide, president of Aurora Sportsman's Club, longtime advocate for the Second Amendment, also known as Gun Santa, and you can find him on YouTube as well with Freedom's Steel. Greatly appreciate your time, Todd, and thanks for jumping on last minute. I texted him at like 6:30 this morning. Hey, they just filed their final brief. You want to talk about it? Sure. He was even getting ready to go do some more bulldozing, so greatly appreciate you taking the time, Todd.
All right, dude. Thanks a lot. Have a good day.
You too. All right. We'll talk with Todd again in the near future. Obviously, as we continue to track this case, the oral arguments are set for September 22nd. So that's coming up just around the corner. I believe the 7th Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals does stream their oral arguments. So you may be able to just listen to that. But I'm going to do my darndest to get into that room as well so we can give it proper coverage. All right. A lot more to come up on all of that. So if you need to get your hands on that brief, be sure to follow me on X, and I'll try to link it up into the video here, this segment, by the time we get it up after the live show here. But just a reminder, we go live each and every weekday morning with the latest news and analysis here with the Center Square on Illinois in Focus Daily. So be sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and wake up with us each and every weekday morning. All right, so we've got much more to come, but I do want to also give you guys a little programming note. I'm off Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday next week. Just got to take those days off where I can find it. It's Illinois in Focus Daily.
Families are struggling to stay here. Senior citizens can't afford to retire here. Even JB wants out. He's looking for a new job in Washington, D.C. I say goodbye.
It's House Minority Leader Tony McCombie yesterday at Republican Day at the Illinois State Fair, where, again, it was another day of deep-fried politics. I'm Greg Bishop, editor of Illinois for the Center Square. You can wake up with us here each and every weekday morning with Illinois in Focus Daily. We reviewed what the Democrats had to say for Governor's Day, pointing the fingers at Republicans, saying they're taking away health care and food from people, and saying that Donald Trump's a cheater and MAGA Republicans are a threat to democracy. controversy. Well, Republicans had their chance at the Illinois State Fair yesterday for Republican Day, where they really are still trying to find who's going to be the leader of the ticket for going up against the governor. You've also got the questions of how do they get any control of the Illinois legislature. You got congressional seats. All of this, of course, heating up for the 2026 election. So if you want to follow along with us, you can do that. Just go to thecentersquare.com and click newsletter, and you can sign up for that free newsletter and get it into your inbox each and every weekday morning. All right, let's get into it. Kathy Salvi, she is the chairman of the Illinois Republican Party, and I think she took a moment right up front of her speech on the stage to address what had been previously reported by another outlet, saying that sources say Kathy Salvi is going to step down after the state fair, but she took the stage and said that she's proud to be the chairperson.
I am the proud chair. Yes, I am the proud chair of the Illinois Republican Party. End of story. Full stop. Okay, folks?
So I guess putting to bed some rumors, or maybe not. I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens. But yeah, that's brought some speculation that the Republican Party isn't as strong as it could be in Illinois. But if you look at the way the legislature performs, you got supermajority Democrats.
Each one of us is the.
You've got supermajority Democrats in the state legislature, in both the House and the Senate, and it's hard for Republicans to get anything across the finish line. But Salvi on the stump, talking about what sets Republicans apart from Democrats.
Each one of us is the tip of the spear who has to take that message to their dinner table, to their lunchroom, to the folks they sit on the bleachers with, right? That is, we stopped the largest tax increase in American history. Are you a little tired of having that big bloated government by the big whatever people in Springfield putting their hand in your pocket? If I would, I'd ask you all to take your paycheck out and look and see how much is chunked out of it. That's because the Democrat Party thinks they can do better with your hard-earned dollars than we do. And families are hurting, businesses are hurting, and nowhere more than Illinois are we ready to elect Republicans to statewide and local offices.
She also listed a whole bunch of grievances, from continued tax increases and even social issues impacting parents and children.
And what about parents' rights? Doesn't it make common sense that parents should direct the education of their kids, right? Not indoctrinate them into screwball ideas.
So a lot of different social issues brought up during Republican Day. Is that going to be able to attract some of the undecided voters, some of the independent voters? It's something I think is going to be an interesting question throughout the 2026 election cycle. But she also went on to say that there is a unfortunate condition that Illinois is undergoing. She characterized it as.
Yes, there is a blue mold still in Illinois. It is seen in incompetence, death, corruption, waste, and delusion. I'll tell you, folks, I heard about a bill that was signed into law the other day. Hope to God it never is implemented. But the only thing I think who needs a little mental health help is the guy sitting in the governor's mansion.
Obviously, she's talking about that measure that doesn't require, but it offers up statewide universal mental health screenings for kids. As a parent, you can opt out of it, but if not, then your kid's going to get a mental health evaluation regularly in the years ahead. Then we get other speeches. Illinois House Minority Leader Tony McCombie was fired up and given some deep-fried politics at the state fair yesterday.
Importing crazy policies from California and New York. Democrats have driven out jobs. They have raised your taxes year after year. And Democrats have turned Illinois into the abortion and illegal immigration capital of the Midwest and close to being in the nation. But there is good news. Illinois is waking up. We are awake. President Trump got more votes than any Republican in 20 years. He gained ground even in Chicago. Where's my Chicago red people here today? Let's hear it. Awesome. And why? Why did that happen? because working families want safety, they want affordability, and they want leaders who work for them and not for a woke agenda.
And the continued platform of pointing out, Democrats with high taxes, Democrats with what they call a woke agenda, taking away parents' rights, not having policies that build the economy. You've got McCombie continuing to poke at Governor J.B. Pritzker.
Just this weekend, in a failed Meet the Press interview, he had the audacity to call Trump a cheater. Pritzker is the cheater in chief. He cheated taxpayers with his toilet scheme to avoid taxes, cheated voters with the worst gerrymandered maps in the country, cheated fairness by redrawing the Supreme Court map to stack the deck, and he even cheated to change election law to keep Republicans off the ballot. J.B. Pritzker, under his failed leadership, has taken Illinois to number one in the highest property taxes, the highest combined state and local taxes, highest cell phone tax, number one in the lowest bond rating, and number one in fiscal instability. Families are struggling to stay here. Senior citizens can't afford to retire here. Even JB wants out. He's looking for a new job in Washington, D.C. I say goodbye.
It's an interesting line of attack. I think that could stick, right? I mean, Illinois is losing population. Even JB wants out. They want to continue to poke and prod at the governor having to dodge questions about whether or not he's looking to run for president in 2028, which would be in the middle of a third term that the Democratic incumbent governor is looking to get. So those are just a sampling of some of the speeches at the fairgrounds from Republican Day. But obviously, being on the ground there, you get to walk around, talk to various elected officials, connected with Senate Minority Leader John Curran, who I asked him, I said, hey, we don't have a strong Republican governor candidate that has really made a splash. You've got several that have put their names out there, several that may still put their names out there. What kind of characteristics does the candidate that surfaces to the top need to have? I asked the Illinois Senate Minority Leader John Curran that question.
Look, we're gonna need a candidate that can rally a big base of support, carry a message up, statewide against Governor Pritzker, to talk about, the lack of opportunity in Illinois, the disinvestment in Illinois, the wayward economic policies of J.B. Pritzker. As he's looking to run nationally and leaning further and further left and more progressive, he is not putting Illinoisans first. And we need a candidate with a strong voice that is going to hold him accountable on that as we build statewide for great success in 2026.
So candidates for the Republican nomination are going to be really clearly known. October 27th, I think, is when they start filing the petitions to get on the primary ballot. So we're going to be staked outside the Illinois State Board of Elections here in Springfield, which is on the same strip mall as a Chuck E. Cheese. And we'll be watching all of these candidates starting to turn in their stacks and reams of petitions. So there were several individuals who, one, put their name in, another one who says they're going to announce soon, looking to get in front of the cameras at the state fair for Republican Day, one of them being DuPage County Sheriff James Mendrich, who's been announced, since like April that he's running? I think he even announced earlier than that he's running to challenge Governor J.B. Pritzker. Here's what he had to say about just his ability to take on the Democrat Party in Illinois.
Well, you know what? I have learned to navigate, politics through nonpartisanship being sheriff. So even in this last election, it was a blue wave. I was unopposed, and I got 60,000 more Democrat votes than the highest Democrat vote getter. So I do know how to work within government. I think that's one of the advantages that I have. I'm used to local government. I'm used to bigger government. I deal with things at a state level all the time as the second biggest county sheriff in this state. I think I bring a lot to the table with how to deal with people. A lot of the people in Chicago I've been dealing with since all this stuff started, because I've been fighting with these people over masks, over restaurants, over 2A, over sanctuary states. Even worse were the rehabilitative leaders in this entire nation for jail, and they had promised to put in remand for rehabilitation within the Safety Act, and then they didn't. They told me they were, and then they didn't. So I've been dealing with these people. I know how it works. I know how politics work out here. I think I can do a lot better than most other candidates, because I think everyone's done with dealing with just politicians.
Is that going to be enough? I mean, listen, Mendrich, he took like 20 minutes worth of questions from just revolving reporters coming around. I was only able to stick around for a few because I wanted to grab somebody else before the speeches started. But he also talked about how, he's in law enforcement and he knows how to get public safety where it needs to be. And he addresses that with the Safety Act.
But let me tell you something about the sanctuary state. When they say sanctuary, Safety Act, safety and sanctuary, those are adjectives. They're making those words into adjectives that have positive connotations. Let me tell you, because I've been doing this a long time, how the sanctuary state really works. If you want to do all the immigrants a favor, you want to do the citizens a favor, ICE a favor, get rid of the sanctuary state completely.
So Mendrich's one who has announced, I'm sure there's going to be others that we'll keep you updated on as to who's officially going to be in this race. Again, petitions are being circulated now. They have until a week from October 27th to turn those in, I believe. Of course, you can get the official packet of candidates, requirements at the Illinois State Board of Elections. But another potential candidate was there, and that's WirePoint's president, Ted Drowski. He was at the Republican State Fair, and I asked him, hey, what are your intentions? When are you going to announce?
Well, I'm going to announce a decision soon, and this is a very important decision because, Illinois, it's too expensive to live here. There are not enough good jobs. People are fleeing. Our kids aren't reading. And so this is going to be a change election. And we can either keep voting for the same thing. Governor Pritzker's had 7 years to fix things, and he hasn't. Or we can vote for change. And I want to say that I'll be the change agent.
Yeah, and that's Drowski saying that he's going to announce his intentions soon, but he wants to be a change agent. So it's, he made a statement at a breakfast earlier that some people say, oh, he announced he's in the race. Well, we'll see exactly what that official announcement is from Ted Drowski. But listen, we've talked to Ted Drowski on this program, and I've talked to him for years. He knows the economic numbers in Illinois. He knows how to, evaluate national trends compared to Illinois trends and some of the things that need to, he says, in his opinion, change in the state of Illinois to have economic growth. So he's really deep into the economic issues, clearly.
We should be a top 5 state in the country for growth, for opportunity, for education. We're a bottom 5 state. We should be a top 5 state. We need to flip all the policies around. People are hurting, and people are forced to leave. That's why we're losing people. We should be winning people.
And he also answered a question I had about, listen, you can talk circles about economic issues all day long, but what about those social issues? And how much does that play into a state like Illinois when it comes to a general election? Of course, primaries are primaries, and you're going to have the extremes go to the extremes to get the party faithful to show up for a primary, but that's not who wins ultimately in the end. It's the general election where you get the general electorate to all the independents too, all the undecideds, and you've got to win them over. Talking about the economic issues and the pain at the pump and the taxes and the highest property taxes and all of that, but what about those social issues that obviously are going to be pretty prominent in the political conversation, as Democrats regularly talk about, with access to health care, prohibiting semi-automatic firearms, all kinds of other issues when it comes to education and diversity, equity, and inclusion and such. So what about those social issues? How would somebody who is very tuned into the economic issues, like Ted Drowski from WirePoints is, how would he attack that with the social issues as well?
Look, the social issues are important too, and I think many people are concerned about them. But if you look at it, I think the issues today are illegal immigration, right? We've disenfranchised black voters. You got the Latinos also taking a big hit because there's fewer jobs or more competition for jobs. You've got parents who are worried about their rights being taken away. So Governor Pritzker's taken the state to an extreme level on the social issues. So I think there's opportunity to persuade people from both sides of the aisle to, hey, it's time to do something different. We need change, and we should be a top state, Greg. We shouldn't be a bottom 5 state, and all these things. People are hurting, and people are forced to leave. That's why we're losing people. We should be winning people.
And that's, again, Ted Drowski. We'll likely hear more from him in the future as he makes his intentions clear if he's going to vie for the Republican nomination to be governor of Illinois. But also there, somebody else who recently tossed their hat into the ring for a statewide office for U.S. Senate, Don Tracy, the former Illinois Republican Party chairman. He announced just earlier this week that he is in the race, and connected with him briefly and talked about the issue of race, and connected with him briefly and talked about the issue of how much votes Trump got in 2024 and how he hopes to capitalize on that as a statewide candidate.
Well, first of all, Trump got 45% without even trying, without spending any money here, without